About. I'm Henry Gordon Smith. I'll be moderating this and a couple different panels today here at the Vision Stage. I'm from Agritecture. You can also see our booth right over there if you're interested in knowing what we do. But today on this panel, we're going to talk a lot more about water. And this session is really going to talk about the global challenges we face in water, this extremely precious resource that we all depend upon, that all life on Earth depends upon. So what are the challenges happening to it? How can we reduce, reuse, and recycle? Now, we're going to have a bit of a discussion, but in fact, this format is going to have 3 presentations. So you're going to hear from 3 different speakers, and then we're going to get into some questions. If you have questions, we'd love to hear them. So get comfortable. Think about your questions. At the end, we'll have some time for that. Are you ready? Yeah? Okay, they seem ready. Well, we're going to start off with Peter from Priva. Do you want to just introduce
No, first.
Peter from...
I go first, I think.
I was given the wrong information. So
okay,
we're going to start with Arjun.
We leave that now or no? Oh, okay.
No, I'm bitter. But we'll start with you, Arjun. Are you ready to go? First, tell us who you are, and then let's start the presentation.
Okay, that sounds good. Arjan Bramskamp. I'm the Business Relations Manager for NWP. We're the Netherlands Water Partnership, so we are the foundation that assists Dutch companies in accelerating their business in overseas markets, with specific focus on the water sector.
Great. Let's go.
All right.
Show us what you got.
All right. So there you go. That's me. Nice picture. Always water. It's always good. Let's see. I get to do this. All right. So like I said, for me, it's Business Relations Manager. We try to help Dutch companies with their international positioning. I'm leaning forward a little bit so I can actually see the screen so that I know what I'm talking about. You guys just go up there. For us, it's really about positioning the reputation of the Dutch water sector. I mean, we have a good reputation, and we try to exploit that by using it to position ourselves in overseas market. And for us, it's really about the water sector doesn't live in splendid isolation. I mean, it's cross-sectoral, and it's essential. Water is an essential resource for all of the other sectors as well. That's also where we meet food production and the horticulture industry as well. So nowhere other than in food production is it more obvious that water is an essential resource. So for us, it's all about how do we manage that resource when it's too much, not enough, or too dirty. And that, of course, has a direct impact as well on your food production. So some quick statistics to sort of level the playing field that we know what we're talking about. We all have somewhat of an idea that there's a little bit of a crisis happening. 47% of the world population is experiencing water scarcity by 2030. We still have 80% of wastewater which goes back into public systems untreated, which has a direct impact in terms of water quality. More than 2 billion people living under water stress, and that's 2018. So spoiler alert, that hasn't gotten better since then. And for this crowd, particularly 1% of our fresh water is easily accessible in the world, of which 70% of it is used for agriculture. So there's an enormous urgency for us there within the context of climate change, to anticipate and to be responsible about the usage of water as a resource. So then specifically about water and food production, 20% of total cultivated land is irrigated agriculture, which is responsible for 40% of the total food production. So again, if we know that we are working towards a 10 billion population by 2050, we know that we need to expand our food production by 70%. And again, agriculture being the largest user of the water resource there, we have a responsibility. This is no longer about us wanting to do something, wanting to be sustainable. It is essential, and the time to do that is now. All of this is, of course, happening in the larger context of climate change, of urbanization, and horticulture is a response, is an urgency-driven response for innovation. And that's also what the rest of the story will be about. All of these problems, if you're in this business, if you're in the business of food production and horticulture, none of this should shock you. We know there's limited water resources in dry area, climate change, sea level rise, everything that's happening is causing falling water tables and poor water management at the farm level. So this is no longer, I mean, I was asked to provide a macro view of why water matters to horticulture, but you can only do that for so long, because in the end, it's going to come down to the farm level, and farmers look at very, very simply about their reason for existence, about the possibility to put food on the table for their families, and about the possibility to minimize losses in yield and to increase their profitability. So that being said, water is a finite resource, and if you don't believe that by now, then by 2050, we're in for a major shock. I'm on the water sector side, so I get to sort of be like the horticulture agnostic, right? So I get to play the card where I don't really know what horticulture is all about because I'm a water expert, but at the same time, I get to share my opinion with all of you because, of course, that overlap is there. I like this because for me, this is the driver behind innovation, not just in horticulture, but also in the water sector. For us, the good reputation that we have as the Netherlands in the water sector started in 1953. And the old adage of never waste a good disaster, it is true. It holds in the water sector because after this, we started developing the Delta Plan, we started developing the Delta Works, and that leads to our good reputation now. It's not so different from horticulture, only in the case of horticulture, following the Second World War, we wanted to be more autonomous about food production, and we had very little space to do it in. So what happened? We started developing a really impressive horticulture industry, really driven by innovation. And we know that's true because look around you 70 years later, this is all the technology and all the innovation that we have to offer in this fantastic venue. So our ability to respond to disasters and then turn those threats into opportunities, I think there's a large parallel there between horticulture and the water sector. So when you bring those two together, the parallel is, they told me, okay, so how does this water concerns, how do these water challenges affect the horticulture industry? And I started thinking about what the key to success is. If you believe in the power of greenhouses and horticulture, what's the key element that you take away from that? And for me, that key element is control. You're trying to create a control and regulated environment within the greenhouse where you can control all the circumstances and increase your chance for success. Well, that works as long as you stay within your nice framework of the greenhouse. But of course, all of the threats that are happening in the world are coming from the outside in terms of water quality, in terms of water quantity. So for us, and I'll work my way here to sort of a interim conclusion. For us, it's really about when you are in the horticultural business and you believe in the power of the greenhouses, it doesn't exist in isolation. You basically have to zoom out. You are the drone that hangs over the entire region that understands that the integral water resource management that you're trying to do to make sure that the right type of quality, the fresh water provision that you need as input for the greenhouse gets recirculated inside the greenhouse and then is discharged compliant with regulation and with certain biodiversity concerns once it leaves the greenhouse. So for me, that's really where the outside and the inside meet. And that's the story I wanted to share. So that as a first kickoff.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for that excellent...
Whirlwind, is it good?
The what?
A whirlwind of information. You're happy?
There's a lot of data, a lot of broad strokes, understanding the issue. We were talking a little bit before the panel about innovation, right? Mm-hmm. That there's a need for innovation in this. Like you said, it's a necessity now. But how does that really happen? Like, what's your advice to people to innovate around water and the synergies between water and food? What do you want to see more of?
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is we're always trying to find the interaction between policy and some of the government tools that are available and bring it down to the private sector, bring it down to the parties that really have the innovations and trying to drive that. Here with some colleagues today, we have a top consortium knowledge and innovation water technology stand where we help Dutch innovators with innovative ideas about what you can do. Taking those ideas, finding funding for it. If you're looking to do academic valorization for new ideas, there's opportunities for that as well. So those tools are there, it's just that not everybody knows. So it's really about, ask me if you have an idea. Trust me, I've heard pretty much all of them at this point. So there's no stupid questions. So by all means, interact with us and we'd be more than happy to help.
Great, great. Does anybody have a question for Arjan before we go to our next speaker? Any volunteers? Anybody want to know about water management, innovation, horticulture? No? You can save it for later. You sure? Okay. Thank you so much, Arjan.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that introduction. And now I think we're moving to Anna next.
Yes.
I think I got that one right. Please introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing in water.
Yes, I'm Anna Voronovic. I'm marketing manager from Grodan, responsible for the CE and export marketing activities within the region. And I'm with Grodan already almost 8 years. Grodan is basically the provider, supplier of precision growing solutions, the substrate, the advice, the tools, the platform, software platform. So basically, we lead the growers and advise the growers how to grow efficiently in the root zone management.
That's the whole presentation?
No, that's my introduction.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so there was a pause. So it's like,
so today,
okay, great introduction.
First of all, I started with with the holistic view of the high-tech greenhouse growing. Of course, the high-tech growing is more and more popular with new regions. It's growing in GCC. It's growing in China. It's growing in India. Is talking about it. Kazakhstan, right? So, but of course, it was developed and created here in the Netherlands. But why it's so popular? Because basically it allows the high production and quality. But if we talk about the whole system, it's not only about the water or just about the substrate, but it's a systematic approach, and you need all the elements in that to achieve the more yield, etc. But it also, if we focus on water, it allows you to save water. For 1 kilogram of tomato, we can go down to 4 liters of water, and it allows you to reduce the usage of the fertilizers. Here I will, of course, focus more on the root zone because we are Grodan, but in Grodan, we strongly believe in the precision growing concept. So basically that you can do more by using less, and it's both on cost side and the environmental side. And of course, water here in the focus. And by applying our solutions, of course, we try to answer the goals of United Nations, and especially these ones are the ones that we can answer by our solutions, and clean water and sanitization here. It's also there by improving the water quality and increasing the use of water efficiency. And if we go closer with the view with the water usage per 1 kilogram of tomato. When you grow in the open fields, we talk about 60 liters of the water usage, water that is needed to grow the 1 kilo of tomato. When you already introduce the greenhouse, even without recycling, you already reduce the water usage to 22 liters. If you go farther and introduce also the recycling, then you can reduce the water usage even to 15 liters. Not mentioning these 4 liters when you introduce the closed system, the high-tech hydroponic system, right? So the reduction is really huge, and it's just one grower, 1 kilo of tomato. And of course, that's only about the water savings. But when we talk about the efficiency of the water usage, it's not only about the savings, how much you can save the water, minimum 50%, as you could see, but it's also about the purification. So no waste, no dirty water comes out from the greenhouse, right? You can recycle and reuse 100% of the water used in the greenhouse. Moreover, you can optimally use all the nutrients, right? So you don't waste that. You don't give it away, even though the regulation is not, in most of the places, is not allowing you to waste the drain out of the greenhouse. So here it's not only about water savings as we talk, but it's also the other things worthwhile mention. And actually, Arjen mentioned why to recirculate water, why to save the water. But I wanted to present you the map with the overall water risk. And we can see how important the issue is actually from the global perspective, not only from the grower point of view, right? And of course, there is legislation going on in more and more countries that you have environmental regulations not allowing you to get rid of the drain water just like that. So the recycle system is more and more popular and required in more and more regions. It's also about the social responsibility, the economy, and it's not only about the savings, but also about the production efficiency and increasing your production efficiency by applying the strategies of irrigation and water. And in Grodan, we are designed to grow from root to fruit. That's actually our slogan, because it all starts with the root zone management, the final outcome of your production. And it's possible through all the strategies that you apply and using the full potential of the stone wool substrate, inert, uniform media, with our advice, with the tools, with the data-driven platform. So we are actually providing the whole solution 360 degree. And here I would like to recommend you this publication. We did it together with Priva back in time, but it's really, for me, it's a Bible if you talk about the water management in your greenhouse, and it's really packed with data and knowledge. So it's really a good publication. I can recommend you.
Looks like some people are scanning it, which is great. So read the Bible. But anyway, let's talk a bit more about root management, right? So Grodan focuses on the substrates. You talked about the services. But just like in more basic format, explain to us how root management actually saves us water and try to give us some numbers of that improvement.
Root zone management basically allows you, first of all, to save the water, and secondly, to grow efficiently, as everything starts from the root.
How does it save water?
Yes, it's all about the water efficiency if we talk about the root zone management. So you can apply your irrigation strategies accordingly. You actually get, you can easily steer the water content, the EC electric conductivity with knowing what is in your root zone, and then you can apply all of it and achieve better results. Just a short story.
So because I know what's happening in my root zone, I use less water?
Yes, actually, you know, I really like the information that we shared recently. We talk so much about energy as well, because energy is very expensive nowadays. So by using exactly what the plant needs, one irrigation, unnecessary irrigation, can cost you a lot of water, nutrients, and energy, because 90% of the water is transpired by the plant and goes into your climate, goes into your air. So then you have to handle that with the climate to get rid of the vapor. But yeah, basically, first of all, you use as much water as you need, so you don't waste the water, you don't waste the nutrients. Secondly, the water is able to be recycled without any particles, without any dirt from the substrate, because the substrate is inert and it does not really react with the water, and so.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to focus on, was the substrate, right? So if the substrate is high quality, it retains water, which means you have to irrigate less, or that water stays in the substrate for the plant to get it when it needs it.
Yes.
So that's one way. And then recirculating systems, that's like a hydroponic benefit. But there's debris that can come from certain substrates that I suppose you might need to clean the water more, or it creates problems.
Yeah,
maybe there's a water saving there. I'm trying to get to the specifics of how root zone management saves specific water.
Yeah. First of all, the water is is for the plant. So it's not staying somewhere hidden in the substrate. It's available for the plant. Secondly, it's distributed evenly within the substrate, so it's also available in the upper parts. It's not only dropping down with the gravitation, as you might say, because we are trying to, with our technology, to counteract the gravitation and to make the water available also in the upper parts. So you actually don't need to use as much water as just to be available for the plants. There was one more thing I wanted to mention.
You want to think about any questions for Anna about substance? Yes, we have a question here from the world's best. What does your shirt say? What does your shirt say? World's best? Just the world's best right here. Can we get a microphone for the world's best? A handheld microphone, please. Anna, did you remember your thought?
Yes. Basically, what I wanted also to say that it's not only about how wet the slab is, because what's very important for the grower to grow efficiently, it's how well he can steer actually the substrate. Yeah. How can he control the water content and the sea level in the substrate? So if the grower needs the wet slab, of course he can go with as high as the substrate allows. But what's really important, it's the range of the water content, right? So if a grower needs to stress a bit the crop, he can go also down with the water content, and this is very important. And actually, our substrate is well designed for
resilience there as well. Excellent. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, my question is that with the grow sense, I'm aware that you can check the contents, water contents, EC, pH, Celsius in real time, but I was wondering, can you also steer it in real time?
Can you really steer?
Yeah, can you change the water contents in real time, like accordingly to the grow sense?
Is grow sense just for measurement, or is it actually for action?
Grow sense is for measurement, but it allows you actually to steer and decide. And that's
your other
actually
systems, like your Priva system, maybe.
Priva system, but it's an additional point to the Priva system and to the climate computers. Just if you have the knowledge, if you have the tools to bring the knowledge to you and to observe what is going on in your root zone management, you can make accurate decisions in real time. So if you decide that okay, you had some strategy, long way to go, but you can see that the water conditions changed and you need to adapt your strategy, right? Or you can see that something wrong is going on and you need to react quickly in your greenhouse. Then, of course, with such tools, you know what is going on there in the root zone management, and then it's easier for you to make the accurate decision.
Great. Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you for that question. Let's move over to Peter, who's going to talk to us a little bit more about Priva and what you're doing for water management.
Let's put the microphone on the chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Do you push the green button? There you go.
Okay. Thank you for the invitation. I'm more the practical guy. I try to find solutions. I'm innovative crop systems at Priva. And what I try to do already for 25 years is to connect the control of water together with climate. And that's something new. When you look for the development on a longer scale, first it started with climate control, and later on, when you talk about substrate and recirculation of water, the water control was involved. What I tried to do the last 15 years to connect them more close together. I'm Priva, so that is about measurements and control. And I first want to start with this picture. You see here the Earth. And the Earth is one of the planets in the sky what is completely blue. And the reason is the water. Not only the water in the sea, but also the water in the air. I'm very happy that my company has blue as a standard mark. That's better than red planets or brown or completely dried out. So blue is a very nice color because it's about water. And when you look more particular to the horticulture, then you see for every horticulture, you have to be very close with your water, very careful with your water, because the best water what you can get is rainwater. But what we see now by the climate change, it is less available, so we have to take much more attention on that to use it efficient and more proper in a good way. And that is where I want to talk about for now, not only to make a problem, but also to create a solution. And when I start to talk about water, yeah, I'm an old teacher, so I start a little bit in history. One of the first persons who talked specific about water was Carl van Linnaeus. And what he mentioned in one of his publications, and here you see it, I found it in Uppsala. So this is the real reprinted publication of Linnaeus. And he talked about strawberries. When you give strawberries slightly a little bit less water, then the fruit become sweeter and better of taste, but also smaller. But when you give more water, the production will be higher, but less tasteful. And so you can manipulate your production. And that is exactly the same way as we do it now. By giving in the right way water, we can improve our production and our quality of fruits. We can look for what we really want to have. And here I give an example, a little bit to point out. I'm a teacher, so I want to learn also something like this session. When you look very careful to the flowers and you give less water, the first step what happens with the flower of a plant is that it makes less white petals. I put a red mark on it. It's only 5. But when you give more water, it's 6. Will you have fruits? Yes. But for the 5, you will have the sweet fruits a little bit smaller. But when you have 6 petals, the fruits will become bigger, but that's slightly a little bit less tasteful. So when you look for the water and to manipulate it, I've found a very old picture from 1900, and here you see some grapes on a wader. And this is vitally the principle. And I have talked about that about 90% of the water is used by transpiration. But when you give no water, the plant is not able to pick up the nutrients and to make a structure. So this is my research, and you see the similarity. I also use a wader. It's called a growth scale in this case, but there are more types of it, but you have to measure the weight of the plant. Of course, you can do it by hand as well. And this is the method that still is used by ornamental growers. They put the plant on the wader, measure how much weight loss there will be during the day, and to prevent so, you give the same amount back for the next day. But you can do it more advanced as well. Here you see substrate culture, that is where Anna mentioned of. This was also the research what we did together with Grodan. You put the plants on a scale, you measure the weight loss, and then you know exactly how much water you have to give. But there is a problem. The plant is not only uptaking water, but also nutrients. So when you look here for the system, I was searching for a picture that Grodan was involved. Then you see quite closely the drippers, but around the drippers you see a little bit white, and that are the nutrients. So the water seems to be clear, but the plant is not growing from water alone. It needs also nutrients. And when you look for the nutrients transport, you need transpiration. So you have to make a very clear balance. There is a balance between the water supply and the climate control. And that is what I try to do. Integrate them together. They belong together. They are not separate units. You have to integrate them to each other. So this is the water part. I go a little bit fast because I have limited time. This afternoon I will give some lectures for 40 minutes. So when you are real interested, you can follow them. And then you get a story from me for 40 minutes about plants. But when you look for the drain measurement, we have to do it more accurate. We have not only to look for the gift, but we have also to look for the drain. What's going out? And not only the water, but also the nutrients. So when you combine them together, then you see a very nice picture. As said, I explained them completely this afternoon, and then you are able to connect the water uptake and the nutrition to the light. And that makes a better control. Now the question, what has this to do with water treatment? Now the answer is easy. When you prevent that you do it in the disturbances in water supply, that you give too much or too little, then you can prevent disturbances. And the first savement of water is to make a high quality product. So when you less have to throw away, that is also a savement of water and nutrients, then you are more efficient and you can improve your production as well. You can look for dry out, overflooding plants, all bad for your production and the quality of the product that you have to throw away. When you can prevent it, it's much better and gives quite a lot of savement. Not only for the plants, also for the quality of the fruits. I put some tomatoes here. Too much water is given. It has not only a relation with your growth of the product at this moment, but also with your shelf life. So when you have a better water control, climate control, you can prevent that you have to throw the crops away, and that saves water as well. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Peter, for that presentation. Really appreciate it. And some nerds will go to your 40-minute lecture on this topic to go a lot deeper.
Okay.
Is there any question for Peter? We can have one question from the audience. I guess I want to know more about some cool projects that you've seen that are really innovative with water management, maybe using some of your tech, maybe with the partners. Like, what's something you saw that people don't really know about, people don't hear about very often? Anything like really novel?
Yeah, I started to build on a new control based on water. I get a little bit right out now, but apologize for that. I started up some projects, not only for vegetables, but also for cut flowers and ornamentals, because the quality is much more involved. I'm just starting up, so I'm running the system now for 2 months. But when you look and you do it much more careful, the control gets much more simple, and the grower is much more able to handle it because he can use it as a plant-based control. He looks for his crop, looks what is happening, and that are also the parameters for the control. And when I talk about modeling, that's always big, it's difficult, gray boxes. Yeah. But when you see the measurements and you see exactly what is happening with the crop, then you can also make the right control.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, like seeing data from the crop in different directions, not just measuring the water, but even imagery of the plant, what can you track, or there's these diameter measures of the plant, like what's happening with the plant from different dimensions to understand how to manage water even deeper.
Yeah, but it has to be reliable data, so when it is too much fluctuating or you touching the plant with your data, that's always difficult, but it's interacting with the measurement. And I think that by measuring it, not by touching the plant, that is much more better. But of course, the plant is not influenced by the measurement.
Got it.
Rodan has that type of measurement, like the moisture content, but you can measure. And we have now a very good measurement of the drain and the quality of the drain and what is happening with the uptake of water and nutrients. That is not touching the plant, so it's not influencing the growth and the development.
Well, thank you so much, Peter, Anna, and Arjan. Really appreciate your commitment to water management and horticulture, and thank you for your presentations today. And thank you to all of you for your attention. Let's have a round of applause for water management. Great job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you.